Hello and welcome back to coverage here at GP Dallas Fort Worth. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Paulo Vitor Dominaria, and we are all set for round 4 coverage. I will give you a quick update, by the way, for those of you who are watching along live with us. Ryan was able to win last round. We had a little bit of a sound issue at the end, but he was able to get the job done. But that leaves us to, one of the best plays you can make. Both players on turn 1. First one is a Llanowar Elves for Mahendra, which you got to feel like you're in a good position after casting that. But boy, Seth Manfield with the best answer in the format for a Llanowar Elves. Fungal Infection kills it and even gives him a Saproling.
Yeah, that is brutal when that happens.
I think I see a Planeswalker in hand here for Mahendra.
Is it a Karn? Or no, is it Teferi?
I think it might actually be a Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, but we shall see.
Oh yeah, it is a Teferi Hero of Dominaria. You were correct.
All right. A reasonable turn 4 play here for Manfield. He's got a Stronghold Confessor. Card's been fine. You know, it's not a flashy card. You almost never play it for 1 mana. But when I've played it, I thought, okay, there's 4 mana.
I think it's extremely average.
Agreed.
Is what I would call it if I had to. If you had to choose a card in this format that is at the exact middle of power level, it'll probably be that one.
Speaking of, an interesting start here for Mahendra. Triumph of Gerard goes onto his unkicked Sergeant of Arms. Largely, Paulo, I've actually been pretty unimpressed by Triumph of Gerard. It looks like kind of a sticky combat trick, but it hasn't really lived up for me.
Yeah, I don't like it very much, to be honest. I think the fact that you have to put the counter on your strongest creature kind of makes it so that you're always putting all your eggs in one basket. And I think this format has enough removal that I don't really like doing that. You know, if you have an aura, usually you'll put the aura on the smallest creature or on a smaller creature, not on your best one. And this forces you to just pump the best one.
Yeah, I made a joke to a friend of mine. I said Triumph of Gerard just says, he points at a creature and says, this is the one to kill.
Yeah.
Like, it was already your best creature, and now you're getting a lot of times what ends up being basically a 2-for-1 out of it. And here we go. Look at this. Triumph of Gerard is going to tick up to 2 after the draw step. Chapter 2 puts a counter on your biggest creature. There isn't even one on the battlefield, thanks to one of my favorite cards in the format, Paulo, the Eldest Reborn here for Seth Manfield. And this is just getting ugly now.
Yeah, certainly a much better saga.
Yes. If you're going to compare uncommon sagas, I know which side of this I'd like to be on.
And Seth has 2 of them in his deck.
Wow.
And
I'm
also,
jealous.
2 fungal infections, so he has a way of killing the smaller creatures so that he can get the big ones with the Eldest Reborn. It's pretty good.
Well, this is basically a disaster here for Mahendra. He is in a terrible position now.
Yeah, if there wasn't a Saproling in there, Mahendra could just play Teferi and get rid of the Confessor, and stabilize a little bit, but can't do that if he's just going to die.
So he's going to board the Weatherlight instead and try to find something better. Did he brick?
I mean, I think that's the usual play pattern with that card. 2 mana, put the first 5 cards in Ball for Library, go.
Hey, it's in a random order, too.
Oh, he actually found something.
He did.
Yeah, interestingly enough, both players are playing that card, which is a card that I don't normally play. So I need to have a really good reason.
You're talking about Board the Weatherlight?
Yeah, Board the Weatherlight. It's just so easy to brick. And it's a type of card that if you find something, you're thrilled no matter what, because you know that you're really close from bricking. Yeah, like, he didn't want to find that sword there, but he's probably so happy about it because the card did something. But, yeah, in Seth's deck, it's interesting. Seth has Yawgmoth's Vile Offering, so he has to try to find legends to cast it. Also has Helm of the Host, Eldest Reborn, so a lot of powerful hits.
Yeah. Helm of the Host you see hit the battlefield for Manfield, and while I do like Forebear's Blade, which is the equipment that Mahendra found, Helm of the Host is the type of card that can absolutely dominate. Now, it charges you for it. 4 to cast, 5 to equip is no joke, but boy, even that first activation and it starts spiraling out of control. And when you're sitting there in Seth Manfield's seat at 17 life, already ahead on board, it looks beautiful.
Oh, yeah. And, when I first read that card, I thought the token died at the end of the turn.
Oh, yeah, I did too.
Because that's usually what happens with this kind of effect. Then when I found out, no, you just keep making tokens. They just stay there forever. Oh, yeah, that card's actually pretty good.
Yeah, and, they also oftentimes you think, well, that's kind of cool, but I don't want to put it on a legendary creature, and they got rid of that clause as well. So there's really no downside to the Helm of Hosts as far as once you get it going.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's very hard to punish in this format because, a lot of the removal is sorcery speed or very expensive. So sure, I spent 5 mana equipping my creature, but you have to spend 5 mana to kill it, and you're killing a creature that you maybe wouldn't even kill to begin with. And there's not enough pressure, so even if I do lose a turn, you're not going to be able to attack me for 10 damage. So I'll just equip again next turn.
That's right. And the really neat part about that is that A, it forces your opponent to have instant speed removal, of which there's not a ton. And B, if they do have the sorcery speed removal, sure, they can kill the originally, the one that the Helm is on, but you can just equip to the token. Like, every single thing about this card just makes you go, wait, but is it non-token? Wait, well, what if it's a legend? And it's just like, no, you're good. Just green light. There's no downside in that way. The only thing that is a problem is that it is slow. It's 4 mana, nothing happens. 5 mana, now you're in business, but you can get tempoed out. But boy, in this format, that happens very rarely in sealed. In the meantime, Seth Manfield, you're a bit of a brute here, my friend, because that is a second copy of the Eldest Reborn, and now the last creature once again going away, and Mahendra's had to stare down
and this game
at this equipment.
Yeah, this was pretty annoying for Mahendra because he spent 2 dig spells to find a creature and an equipment, and none of them did anything. So it's not like his creatures just died. He spent time looking for them, and that's what he found.
Yeah. Is it finally time for Teferi? Yeah. He's going to, air quotes, bounce Teferi. And this is kind of an interesting play because since he's doing it on his own creature, it's going to get rid of it from Seth's side and put it on in his library a few down from the top there.
Yeah.
Now, that will let him kick that card as well. It's Sergeant at Arms that he ended up putting there, so he could get some tokens out of it. Maybe gives him some type of game plan. But Teferi immediately dies. And Pardic Wanderer is the follow-up for Manfield. Not the best 6-drop in the format, but boy, it looks pretty good here.
Oh, yeah. And how about many of them? Which is what Seth is probably going to get. Yeah, so I'm looking at how many historic spells there are to search for. Board the Weatherlight.
Wow. That was interesting, by the way. He actually could have got Teferi back.
Oh, yeah, you can with the Eldest Reborn, yeah.
He either didn't know or just said, I'd rather have a Mesa Unicorn somehow.
That seems extremely unlikely that anyone would ever rather have a Mesa Unicorn over a Teferi. Any Teferi.
That is what I was thinking, Paul.
But I mean, sometimes you don't want to rub it in. It's also possible that, assuming Seth knows, he knows he's going to win the game no matter what, there's a chance his opponent doesn't know. And then you don't want to tell them that this is possible.
Although, based on Mahendra's T-shirt, I would say he probably does know.
The shenanigan mode? Yeah, that sounds like someone who would know. It's sacrifice at a Planeswalker, too. Like, sometimes you just get the Teferi with it, and you might be warning them of the fact.
Uh-huh.
But the most likely explanation is that Seth just didn't know.
Yeah.
The set is still relatively new.
That's right. Yeah, people are still getting adjusted to the brand new cards.
Yeah, so Mahendra there's Wrath Capuchin, Shana, Teferi, and Forebear's Blade, a bunch of other Weatherlight. So actually a lot of stuff to search for with Board the Weatherlight.
Okay.
Very flavorful.
You see Seth Manfield taking a look at his sideboard. Of course, sideboard's a big handful of cards there, given that it's everything that you didn't play out of your 6 booster packs.
Yeah, and sideboarding in Limited is something that people don't do nearly as much as they should, I think. I think most people are kind of lazy, I have to de-sleeve so many cards. But sometimes you should just, this creature matches up poorly against my opponent. For example, I played a 2-3, but what if my opponent has a bunch of 3-3s?
Mm-hmm.
Then the 2-3 isn't good. I should just swap it for a 3-2.
Mm-hmm.
And no one does that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
those are the changes. I see that most players have caught on, to the more obvious sideboard cards, the disenchant style effects or the Plummet, the Kill a Flyer, like the things that are or color-specific cards. Those ones tend to stand out, and they'll go for those right away. But you're talking about a more subtle level of tweaking your deck for the types of cards you saw or the type of game plan or the type of mini matchups that you see on the battlefield. And I agree. I think people tend to not switch those up. One of the times I learned that lesson was, I can't remember who it was. I was watching a pro play, probably on a video or something, and their opponent had played a 2-1 and 2 3-1s. And they brought in a 1-1 for 1. I mean, it was a junky, it was not a card that you would really want in your deck. But they knew that if I played this card, this would help me survive to the mid to late game, which is where they actually wanted to be, and would threaten to trade off for one of these cheap spells. And right then I was like, oh, light bulb moment. Because I just thought, you just never, like, the card's unplayable, right? That's I had it in my head as the 1-1 for 1's unplayable, therefore you never play it. But this player's, very reasonably said, I'm going to cut this clunky 5-drop, because if my opponent does what they're going to do, I don't get to cast it anyway. And they brought in an air quotes bad 1-1 to act as a potential trade. And that's the type of more subtle sideboarding that, I think you should see more of.
Yeah, almost no one does that. And even stuff like, for example, which one would you rather play, a 3-1 or a 2-2?
2-2.
Well, okay, I was going to say in the dark, most people would choose a 3-1.
No, come on.
But if you're playing a 3-1...
sleeves up. Mahendra's ready to fight.
The shenanigan mode is on. Yeah, but if your opponent plays, 2 Saproling tokens, that 3-1's getting out of my deck.
Definitely.
Like, the 2-2 is replacing it. So you have to be flexible with this kind of thing. Yeah. It's exactly what you said with the 1-1 creature.
See how smart I am? I wanted the 2-2 ahead.
Yeah. Well, in this format, I think 2-2 is better.
Yeah.
But
all right, here we go again. Mahendra Raval kicks things off with Llanowar Elves, and this is the type of card we see this time, Seth, with no answer, that can lead to explosive starts that may be able to overwhelm Seth. But this is actually the most relieving thing you can see if you're sitting in Manfield seat, is your opponent attacking with the elf.
What's the most relieving thing? That candle right there. Because sometimes you keep a very slow hand. Your opponent goes, turn 1 playing Staff. You're like, oh my God, please not the 2-1, not the 2-1. And it's candle. You're like, thank God.
Thank God. But this is a problem. Now, Mahendra Raval has followed up with Weatherlight. This is a vehicle, legendary one in this set, and it's very powerful. It's a pretty straightforward card, just hits really hard in the air. But you'll notice that crew cost at the bottom is 3, so Mahendra is going to need to come up with at least 2 additional power next turn in order to crew up the Weatherlight and start smashing.
Yeah, and that card is really good against Seth. Because Seth has a decent amount of removal, but nothing that kills Weatherlight. There's 2 Elders Reborn, 2 Fangano Infections. The only card he has that actually kills it is a Bloodcello Candle.
Really?
Yeah. Other than that, there is nothing. Of course, Mahendra doesn't know that. Could be scared of Blast Light or Vicious Offering, but none of those are in Seth's deck.
Interesting, yeah. Of course, Weatherlight doing a very good job at dodging a lot of the sorcery speed removal in the set, since it's traditionally only crewed on your turn. You can, of course, crew it other times, but it doesn't happen very often because getting in with the Weatherlight is a major incentive, as it can be a stream of card advantage. And here we go. An Excavation Elephant is going to jump in the Weatherlight and send it into the red zone. And now we're going to see a trigger go on the stack from the Weatherlight after Seth drops to 15. There you go. Look at the top 5. And he can grab a historic card. Ooh, Teferi.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
Good. Yeah, this is the kind of card you're just so happy to grab anything. But when you get Teferi on top of that. Well.
Yeah, the interesting, or the kind of funny part is that is Board the Weatherlight.
Yes.
Right, the trigger is actual card Board the Weatherlight, which is a spell that Mahendra has in his deck somehow.
Yeah, so he gets to cast it every turn.
Yeah, this one's free.
When that card was previewed, a friend messaged me like, oh, wow, are you happy they reprinted Ojutai? I'm like, what? What's the new Ojutai? There's like Weatherlight. I'm like, well, that's not the same.
Not quite.
But it is similar. There are resemblances.
I see it.
It does get to win the game almost by itself if it gets going. All you need to do is screw it, and then it just fuels itself forever. And
it is hard to kill on your opponent's turn. Wow, he didn't go for Teferi?
Oh, he doesn't have blue mana.
Oh.
So that blade's pretty good. Because it lets anything crew the Weatherlight.
True. Yeah, Forebear's Blade on the even on the little Llanowar Elves is enough. That's got to be a bit of a bummer sitting in Mahendra's seat, of course. It's like, oh, I see a Planeswalker with my Weatherlight. Can't cast it. Fair enough.
It's a very first world problem.
By the way, everybody's just boarding Weatherlights here.
There's a Weatherlight themed match.
What is going on here?
But I think when your problem is, oh, I can't cast this Teferi immediately, so I'll just settle for the other great rare that I have in my deck, you're feeling pretty good. Seth is probably just dead. Realistically speaking, I don't see anything he can do.
I'm checking on this. So chat seems to think that he wanted Seth to choose randomly between the cards.
Oh.
And that actually is the case. The Revolt did ask the judge if he can have his opponent pick a card at random for him.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if he's allowed to or if that happened, but
I mean, he's certainly allowed to, I think.
I don't know.
What? Well, I mean, what...
I mean, I saw what was happening, but I did not translate it that way, but the chat was all over it, and I just confirmed that that's exactly...
Really?
Wow, I tell you what, shenanigan mode engage indeed.
Yeah, that is...
Mahendra is in full shenanigan mode if that's what he did. Ooh, there's an island.
Well, but he didn't pick Teferi at random.
No. And now he's got Sparring Construct somehow.
Yeah, that card somehow made its way to play pre-combat. So now he reveals a 5-mana card. He can't play it, which is kind of annoying. But he didn't. I think he just bricked.
Well, lucky. Yeah, very strange sequence there.
Yeah, I don't know what the point is. He's just trying to tilt Seth, but...
Well, so what is he...
I think trying to tilt your opponent is okay, but not at the expense of losing the game.
Well, yeah, and also, did Mahendra just choose to not play anything?
Yeah, he didn't play the sword. He has Wrath Capuchin in his deck. That might be
okay,
what's
maybe
in his
he's
head.
either representing or having that already. Because, yeah, he has the Forebear's Blade, and that's a fairly mana-intensive card. It's definitely the type of card you'd want to try to get on the battlefield. It's 3 to cast and 3 to equip, so it is pretty expensive. The creature gets +3/+0 vigilance and trample, though. And when the creature dies, you can equip it to another creature you control.
Yeah, that card is very strong.
It really is a powerful colorless spell, but he must have Wrath Capuchin, excuse me.
Yeah, he didn't even try to block with it. So he just wants to make sure he won't be killed.
All right, here it is. It's Unwind
okay.
that he had in his hand to counter and eviscerate to save that excavation elephant. This is a very weird sequence from Mahendra Raval. You just don't see Unwind to protect my elephant that often in this format, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see Unwind or the elephant that often even.
That's what I mean. And now somehow they've joined forces, and the elephant likes flying.
Together, they're unbeatable.
Indeed. Mahendra off of the splashed Unwind.
Wait, I don't think that's...
Yeah, that's not enough.
Oh, is that a lance and not the sword? I think that's a jousting lance.
Oh, you're right. It's Jousting Lance.
Okay. So he's putting himself to 1 life. Okay. So if Seth can do an extra point of damage, then Seth wins. If not, then Mahendra will probably just fly over.
Oof. So this is kind of a hold your breath moment for Mahendra Raval. A combat trick, an equipment, something along those lines would win the game for Seth Manfield, as Mahendra's tapped out, has no blockers right now.
Yeah, and Seth has the Candle in play, so if Seth finds a land, then that already stops him from dying to the Weatherlight.
Oof, this feels very risky. Mahendra needs Seth to not have a combat trick or equipment.
Well, which we know he doesn't, because who would be
he
taking this long?
Yeah. Well, he could be in shenanigan mode engage as well.
Oh, yeah, Mahendra would deserve that.
There's land number 6, though, and that was an important piece of the puzzle here. Because now Mahendra does not have the ability to just jump in the Weatherlight and finish off the game. He found Baird before with the trigger from the Weatherlight.
So if Mahendra finds a land, he gets to play the sword, equip, and then he wins. Because then both the Weatherlight and the other 6-part creature are lethal. But apparently he didn't.
Shauna Cisse's Legacy is the play here from Mahendra. She's going to be a 3-3.
Potentially a 4-4.
That's right.
That thing is crewed.
That's true. But she's big enough to crew the Weatherlight on her own at the moment.
Yeah, so he did get the sword, right? He has a sword in hand. Right? Or we didn't miss...
No, I think he does have it in his hand, yeah.
Okay.
Try to get a look at his hand when he picks it up again, though. Yeah,
no,
there it is.
There it is.
Forebear's Blade. And he just has to pass the turn back. He's not going to expose the Weatherlight to the candle, and he's not going to let Seth use up that mana in an efficient way unless he wants to kill the elephant or the Shauna.
Yeah, there are a couple interesting interactions here. So if Seth candles one of the creatures, then the Shauna isn't big enough to create a Weatherlight anymore. But at the same time, Seth cannot tap the Shauna with the Trapper because Shauna has hexproof from abilities.
Right, of course.
So he would have to tap a 3-power creature remaining, which would then crew the Weatherlight. So if Seth could target that Shauna, then he would win by finding a historic spell.
So does that mean that the Blood Candle can also not target Shauna?
Yeah, it does mean that.
Yeah.
He cannot target that.
So Shauna's going to be on the table, but like you said, he can shrink her power down enough so that she can't crew anymore. Interesting. Seth really doesn't want to leave this mana unspent.
Yeah, he can't, I don't think.
But also there's the Weatherlight, and he knows that that will kill him if he doesn't have an alternate answer for it, or if he can't kill Mahendra straight away.
Yeah, but what's his game plan here? If he doesn't use the candle, he can't really attack. So we would just pass the turn again, and he has to keep 6 open mana for the rest of the game.
Ugh, I don't like that idea.
That doesn't seem like, it doesn't seem like that can work. But also, I don't know what is in Seth's deck that he can actually draw.
Yeah, Seth is in a very rough position here.
He probably just has to kill the elephant.
So he's going to do so. Mahendra's going to crew the Weatherlight in response. Does Seth have any other, does he have an Icy Manipulator or some other way to perhaps deal with the Weatherlight?
No. The only way he had in his deck of dealing with the Weatherlight is gone.
Okay, that was the Blood Tallow
Candle. Yeah, he can deal with the creatures. He has, Fungal Infection would kill the 1/1, and he has Eldest Reborn, Yawgmoth's Vile Offering, which he can't cast right now.
He only needs to get in for 2 damage to finish this game, so he's got to find a removal spell here. Well, there's the Eldest Reborn.
Yeah, but so it has to crew, and then the Eldest Reborn has to be sacrificed. Sorry, the 1/1 has to be sacrificed. Yeah, so now Seth has to attack to force a block, but, that Shauna can just block the 2/2. And we know
a 3/3 right now.
Yeah, and we know there can't be Fungal Infection from Seth because that would have just been cast before the Eldest Reborn and the game will be over.
That's right. He would have killed the Sparring Construct and just got in for the win.
Yeah, so Mahendra has kind of a forced play.
Right, because if you're sitting in Mahendra's seat, that's the only card you're thinking about with 1 black mana up. But as you know, it's not reasonable that Seth would have it. So all Mahendra needs to do
they're talking about
find 1 more creature.
Yeah, they're talking about if there's a time window between the Weatherlight turning into a vehicle again and damage going away, so Shauna would die, but there is not.
There's
the end of the turn is all one thing.
It's all happens at once. So she will, even though she has 2 damage on her and is a 2/2 after the Weatherlight.
Because the Weatherlight becomes a creature until the end of the turn. So if it's no longer a creature, then the turn's already ended.
Yep. So that means that Shauna's going to survive But Mahendra simply needs to equip up one of his 2 equipment, crew the weather light. Okay, attack here either way, same difference, and that is going to be the game going to Mahendra Raval. And Seth Manfield really had his hands full with the weather light there.
Yeah, it is. It is a very strong card. And some decks can deal with it very easily, and some cannot. And Seth is the type of deck that cannot. He does. I don't think he has any artifact removal to bring it in, even.
No broken bond.
No. I mean, well, he's not green, but he doesn't even have a broken bond.
Yeah.
I mean, you could. Sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people, I found that most people main deck one piece of artifact or enchantment removal if they have access to it.
Definitely. That was something that popped up very early in the format. I noticed it even at the pre-release. I was pretty happy main decking an Invoke the Divine.
Yeah, originally I thought, well, everyone's going to have targets, but all their targets are kind of bad.
I thought that
the
too.
Sagas have already done their part,
Yep.
and, but that hasn't been the case.
No.
Because some of the best cards are artifacts or enchantments, like Weatherlight, Bolus's Clutches, Ham of the Host. You have to deal with those cards. And the combination of dealing with those powerful cards, plus always finding at least a mediocre target, means that you can just main deck those pretty freely.
Yeah. One of the other things that I discounted a little bit too was killing Sagas, because I thought what you said. I thought, the chances that I actually use this are only in like pure desperation mode. But like my opponent played a Song of Freyalise on me, and I'm like looking down and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna kill that. Like,
yeah.
And there's a few that actually do. Killing an Eldest Reborn wouldn't be the worst thing either. Even after you've lost
it's like
a creature.
killing the best creature in the graveyard, right?
Exactly. And keeping a card in your hand that you would have had to discard. So there are actually times where you do want to do that. Sure, there are some that are less exciting to kill. But again, I have a similar bar to you. I know a lot of people that don't mind main decking those things as long as they find a target. And I put my bar higher than that. I definitely want to hit relevant things if I'm going to take the risk of not having a target. Because there are some decks that don't have that many. And, a real nice way to lose a game of Magic is to have a spell in your hand that you simply can't cast.
Yeah, and that happens a lot in this format because there's a lot of splashing and there's legendary spells.
Yep.
So a lot of the time, my opponent has 3 cards in hand, and it's like a Disenchant, a legendary spell, and a card they can cast.
Yeah.
And, that goes on for many turns,
Yeah.
so it does happen. You're just compounding on the problem.
Yes.
If you add. But yeah, I found that you very rarely end up with no decent targets.
Agreed. Yeah. And they printed some nice ones too. Broken Bond's ability to put a land into play can be good if it's early enough, and the 4 life you get from Invoke the Divine is a lot.
Oh yeah, Invoke the Divine is constructed playable, I think. If there's ever need for a Disenchant effect, like it's instant speed, you gain 4 life. People played Appetite of the Natural already.
Yeah,
that was just 2 life.
Yeah.
That's twice as much. Yeah.
I like that.
But you know what we've also found that's interesting? I think in Team Sealed, you should not main deck those. Because most people group their artifacts or historic type cards in one deck. So you usually find that you have a lot of targets in one deck and almost no targets in the others. So it's not worth main decking. Whereas in Sealed, obviously, like whoever has IC Manipulator is going to play that in their deck no matter what. That's not going to be the case in Team Sealed. Like only one person will play them. So what I found so far at least is that I like main decking them in Sealed but not in Team Sealed.
That makes sense. Mahendra and Seth having a quick chat. Seth, of course, currently ranked #1 in the world among Magic players. You're looking at, well, at least by that ranking, the best Magic player in the world. Though,
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And he has a big lead, I think.
Does he?
I believe so. Yeah, he certainly has a lot more points than the people, it's not like you have first, second, third, fourth, fifth all close together. I think he has a big lead.
Yeah, he has been unbelievable for the last, he's had a really solid 5 to 6 year run, but the last 2 to 3, boy.
Yeah, it's very impressive. Every time I tune GP coverage when I'm not attending, they're like, oh, the 8-0s. And it's always like, oh, Seth again.
I know.
And, and there's
it's
like
unbelievable.
BBD and Brad.
Yeah.
It's all the same people.
It's the same people. It's crazy. It almost becomes easy to forget how difficult it is to do that,
Yeah. It is very impressive.
It's like, not these guys again.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's Corey Baumeister. Cool.
Oh, yeah, Corey, too, yeah. Basically all of Genesis.
Yeah.
They should just replacing
Seen a
8
trend
pictures
here,
with 13 pictures.
Yeah. That would save us some time on coverage. No, it is really impressive, the performances they put up. Seth particularly is, he seems pretty format agnostic. He just doesn't, it just doesn't matter. Like, you can just put any deck in his hands and he just will perform.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. Yeah, I've seen Seth playing, Esper Control or Mono Red Aggro or Legacy or Tron in Modern or, Limited, all types of that. Yeah, he definitely plays anything. He doesn't have a style like players like Shota Yasuoka, Guillermo Fatapa, Craig Wesco.
Yeah.
Like a lot of players have a style. Seth does not have one.
Yeah, and other people will specialize in formats. You talk about like a modern specialist or a really standout player in standard. Seth is just put Magic cards in front of me and I'll go smash. His range is Blood Tallow Candle all the way up to Karn. Whatever
is that the range?
That's his range.
Are you going to rank everything from now on from Blood Tallow Candle to Karn?
Yeah. All right, underway here in game number 3. Is it going to be the Shenanigan Man, Mahendra Raval, or number 1, numero uno, Seth Manfield? Geez, Seth is playing that card? Sarah Disciple?
You don't like it?
I hate that card. I think it's really bad.
I think it's the type of card that you don't want in your best decks, but it's also a card that lets worse decks beat good decks.
Okay, that's interesting.
Because I found there is not a lot of flying in this format.
That's
if you're
true.
on defense. And so you can just have 100 offensive flyers.
That's true. Also, they do carry equipment fine.
Yeah, I mean, they're not great.
No.
Don't get me wrong. I'm never thrilled, yay, another Sarah Disciple.
Yeah.
But if you have a critical mass of flyers, and flyers are what you need to do.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Here's some triggers from the helm as well. The Dominant Trapper is going to tap down the Unicorn, clear the way for it to attack, and then the Sarah Disciple is going to get in for 2 damage in the air. But this is a situation where all of a sudden Mahendra is facing down one of the more powerful cards in this sealed format, Helm of the Host. Seth can simply go land, equip, and all of a sudden he's going to start making a bunch of trappers or a bunch of flyers, and the game will snowball very quickly. And you see Mahendra really being punished here for a relatively slow start. He's put out Mesa Unicorn, not a high-impact card in this format. And the Forebear's Blade is a card that you and I both like a lot, but it's a little bit more of a late-game play. And it looks like he's going to dare Seth to A, hit a land drop, and then B, go for the equip, and Seth may just sidestep him here.
Yeah, I see it Invoke the Divine in Mahendra's hand, I believe. So that is probably what his plan is. And it's a card that he's not main decking, so he boarded it in.
Well, that would work out well for him if Seth goes land equip. That is one of the ways you can get ahead of a Helm of the Host. The downside, of course, from Mahendra's perspective is that his board state isn't very impressive. He's only chipping in for a couple of damages, already behind in life totals as well.
Yeah, and the Helm of the Host is a card, it's similar to what we saw the last match we covered. It turns the game into a mini game.
Yeah.
Can you deal with this Helm? If you can't, you lose. And then if you can, it depends on how far they had to go to play it and equip it. It's like, On Sarah's Wings is a similar card.
Yes. I love that. Mini games. We're going to be talking about that all weekend.
Mini games,
yeah. We're making that a thing. Because there's multiple cards that turn what would normally be a normal match of Magic into a mini game, and Helm is particularly one of them.
Yeah, it's like Shahrazad or whatever.
Yeah.
I like all of those cards.
Shahrazad.
That's how I think about them. Planeswalkers too. Like my opponent plays a Teferi, I'm like, okay, we've stepped into this alternate reality where the mini game is killing Teferi.
I love this. We're basically the highest honor we can give a card for the rest of the weekend in this format is it mini game? Is it a Shahrazad, or is it not? And so far, Seth misses his land drop. Mahendra says, I'm not going to be greedy and hope for you to go for the big equip. I'm just going to get rid of your Helm of the Host with Invoke the Divine immediately. And it looks like Seth may just trade off his fungal infection for the Mesa Unicorn here. That's a trick you'll see often on 2 toughness creatures. Shrink it down, then block with the 1/1.
Yeah, I love Fungal Infection. It's so much better than just a -1/-1 spell.
Definitely.
Like the fact that it can trade with 2 toughness creatures, sometimes a 3/2 even for just 1 mana, while also killing cards like Llanowar Elves or like, Sarah's Disciple. I think it's... I'm not going to say there's no limit to the number of that I'll play. Obviously, I wouldn't play 10.
Yeah.
But I would play like 2 in every deck, basically.
I've been really impressed by it, too. I remember looking back, the first event that I played. It shows my level of greed. I played it on my opponent's creature, and I, for some reason, thought it was a -1/-1 counter on top of all the other stuff. And after having played with it for a few times, I'm like, wow, I'm really greedy. This card's already very good, and I somehow wanted it to be even better. Call the Cavalry now for Mahendra Raval. And that's a nice one when you have a card like Forebear's Blade, because giving you multiple ways to get it equipped up means that even if Seth were to try to go for kind of a removal strategy here, Mahendra could still fight through it and start getting in with that Forebear's Blade on something.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And we know Seth has, 2 copies of Eldest Reborn.
Card is so good, he can tap down the other one.
Well, I assume he's sacrificing whichever one gets tapped.
That's right.
I mean, it's an option.
It's a cast trigger on the Trapper, right?
It's a cast trigger, yeah.
Yeah. So timing-wise, that, of course, means that that happens first, and then Mahendra makes the decision afterwards. 2 in the air, though, from Seth Manfield. By the way, should have mentioned it before, but we're in the Pro Show now. This is where we bring in some of the biggest names in Magic and highlight them playing. That's why we have numero
the biggest.
uno. Yep, Seth Manfield, the man of the hour.
He played a land, right?
Mm-hmm. I think he has Unwind.
Well, but he's going to have to discard it. One hit?
You're right. I think he really wanted to keep up Unwind. Does he only have the 1 card left?
I don't know. It's hard to see if he has one or
that's
two.
probably a good block there from Manfield. You don't love giving up your Trapper for half of a card.
Yeah.
But you do what you got to do. No, he had
he has multiple
lands.
cards. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But you help negate some of the benefit of a card like Forebear's Blade, because it does have that clause that when the creature that's equipped dies, you can attach it to another creature you control. And since Mahendra doesn't have one, it just falls off. And that's another big mana investment that Mahendra's going to have to put in. After casting a creature, he's going to have to spend 3 more mana to get the Forebear's Blade back on it. And that's a big upside there for Manfield. So he goes ahead and trades off. Does leave him with not much of a board at this point, but he'll get another creature back next turn from the Eldest Reborn.
Yeah, and that's probably going to be a Trapper, I imagine.
Yeah.
From Seth. I don't think there's anything battering Mahendra.
Yeah, it's just the Unicorn, because remember, Call the Cavalry doesn't work. It's a sorcery.
Interesting, Mahendra did not equip the blade. So that has to tell Seth something is up.
Yes.
Because as you said, it's very mana intensive. So if you don't have anything to do, you have to equip. Like, you can't bluff here because you might just be so punished.
Yeah. So is Seth Manfield's mind state going to be, okay, I know that there's something, but I don't know what, and maybe he'll have like a list of cards that he'll start to scratch off, as he sees things not happening. Like, we know it's an Unwind, but it could be Wrath Capuchin, it could be any number of things.
Well, the thing is that we also know that Mahendra didn't play anything the previous turn, and he just played a Pegasus now. So he has to have drawn that Pegasus. Well, it doesn't have to, but most likely he drew that Pegasus now. So if it was a Wrath, he would have just played the Wrath the previous turn. So the number of things that he can be is not very high. So I would just go with... If I'm Seth, I'm thinking that's an Unwind.
Yeah, I think last turn he only had 3 mana, though.
Yeah, but he could have played the Pegasus. And the thing is, if he had a Wrath in his hand, would he have equipped and attacked with the token? Or would he have just passed and played Wrath? I think he would have just passed.
Yeah, I think you're right. By the way, Unwind does get to untap 3 lands here for Mahendra, but he chooses not to. Don't think that's a choice he actually has. But all right, now we finally see this Forebear's Blade get first blood here, and it's going to get equipped up and create a really nice creature. It's a 4/4 flying trampler with vigilance now, and it can even pick up a friend and get it into the red zone if Mahendra finds something. Yeah. Unwind on Call the Cavalry was nice, though, for him.
Yeah, it definitely was. And then, Seth can't break through right now, but if he ever draws a historic spell, he gets to attack at least. There are a couple in his deck.
Yeah, and it's a pretty big attack. I mean, he would need to chain them together, but he can attack for chunks of 5. Mahendra's going to pass the turn back, and let's see if Seth can come up with it. Because Mahendra is slamming pretty hard in the air.
Oh, yeah. If I'm Seth, I'm thinking I have, 3 turns, because you can always chump block whatever the Pegasus flies with the Sarah's Disciple, but...
Well, but that 3rd turn actually kills him, though, right? Because of trample?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, look at this. Wow, Eldest Reborn, that's actually 2 historic spells this turn as well. So 3, 4, 5, 6 damage and clear your board. Man, Eldest Reborn has been the card of the match thus far. That card has been performing very well for Manfield. I'm not surprised to see it either. That card is fantastic.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a great card.
Ooh, here's a decent one, though, for Mahendra. He's going to play Sergeant at Arms and get the 2 tokens. So can he start to stabilize from here? He's at a pretty high life total still, though. I don't think he's at 14, is he?
That seems unlikely.
There we go. Now he's at 8.
You know, Seth actually has the candle. You can get rid of whatever Mahendra tries to equip first. Or it can just get rid of the Sergeant immediately and attack with the Trapper and the Sarah's Disciple, which might prompt a double block, but probably not because Mahendra needs to have creatures.
See that the last card that Mahendra had to discard there was a Wild Onslaught. Definitely a bummer for Mahendra. He would have loved to have that here with the 3 creatures on the battlefield.
Yeah, for sure, then. If you can kick that card into a stall board, it's extremely powerful.
Right.
But
it will not be his game plan this game, at least. Manfield going to use a candle here?
I believe he will. And then he'll probably just attack with his 2 creatures. Yeah, not on the 1/1.
Mahendra picks up a 1/1 just to help Seth out a little.
Yeah, I think Mahendra has to take it here. He cannot trade both his soldiers for the Trapper.
Just basically leaving that 4 Bear's Blade.
Yeah, that is not a winning play.
Right.
And you know that Seth is going to bring something back at the end. Seth is probably going to bring a Pegasus back, which will be lethal in a turn. But
so Mahendra's going to get in with both. It's 5 damage, and unfortunately for him, the best thing he could come up with was a Sparring Construct, though he does move the 4 Bear's Blade over onto it.
Yeah, now that's interesting, because if Seth has a historic spell, he will tap the Construct, and you have to block with the Soldier, whereas you would rather block with the Construct.
Right.
So I lean towards not moving that. But then on offense, the Construct is a better Blade carrier, because if it gets blocked, you get the counter. So it depends on whether you're gambling that Seth is going to draw a historic spell or not. But
shouldn't Seth be at 5 life here? Okay, 6. There we go. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he was 11. He took 5.
Yeah, he was somehow at 11. So.
Yep, there it is. Yep. 2 mana, shuffle your library.
Your favorite, Paulo.
You know what card does not create a minigame? That card.
That card. And you know what's funny is that they're a random order, too. You don't even get the slight benefit of ordering the bottom 5 cards.
Yeah. I guess they made Weatherlight random order because they thought it was too easy to cycle through your whole deck.
Probably. Ooh, Mahendra has a card in mind here as he taps the top of his library. He's going to need it.
Yeah, here we see that Seth did not even attack with the Sarah's Disciple because the clock is the same. Mahendra is on 4. Seth will have 5 Powerful for Flyers next turn. So, and the 1/1 First Striker actually stops the 4/1 Trampler that on his track. So Mahendra has to draw something great here.
Yeah, really smart play by Manfield. It can be tempting just to get in, but he's left his shields fully up. Seth reminding Mahendra that his Sparring Construct does have Vigilance. Mahendra's going to need something pretty special here, though. Kind of interesting. First Strike will kill the Construct and put a counter on one of the 2 1/1s.
Yeah,
though it doesn't seem to matter
really
at the moment, no. Okay. Throw this thing away. Equip.
Yeah, I think we're done here.
Mahendra's just doing some of his trademark shenanigans. Well, card drawn from Seth Manfield. Is there anything that Raval can have? Well, we're going to find out right now. He has a forest, and that's going to do it. Seth Manfield is going to improve to 4-0 and hand Mahendra Raval his first loss of the tournament. And now they're going to have a little post-game chat about how that went. It was a close one.
It was definitely close.
Ooh, double handshake. I like that. Super sportsmanship. But
or average sportsmanship, depending on how you view things.
How many do you do?
What?
How many handshakes do you do?
No. Oh, you mean
two's only average?
They shook hands twice?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant both players are shaking hands.
No. They shook right after, and then they chatted, and then did the rehand.
Oh, okay. I see. No, you're right. Super sportsmanship.
Yeah, double. Yeah, I was going to say, if that's average, are you like a 5 handshake player? Because I think I am. But all right, it sounds like we've got a short commercial break lined up for you. When we come back, we'll have Time Walk here from Dallas-Fort Worth. Don't go anywhere. Hello there, welcome back to the booth here at Grand Prix Dallas, Fort Worth. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. That's Paulo Vitor Dominarosa. Sorry for that little interruption there. It looks like we've got things back on track for you here, though, as far as our live coverage of Sealed for Dominaria goes. Welcome along. It's nice to have you. We're going to be watching out for those mini games, Paulo. I've decided that that's going to be a thing now.
Okay, nice. I like them. That's how I think.
It's very descriptive of what we're trying to convey in the booth with how the players are approaching different situations, and this is one that comes up a lot in all formats, but this format in particular has presented many mini games here in the early part of the day, and I think we're going to do this for the rest of the tournament. I love this idea. This guy's a genius. He's got it, I'm telling you. So we're going to be lining up Time Walk Magic here in just a moment, and it looks like we're on our way. Let's get into Michael Byers versus Shuhei Nakamura, and they are underway.
Yeah, and just to be clear, those players are 3-0, right?
Yeah,
No,
this is coming into round 4, so yes,
Yeah.
those graphics should be there, but we can't change them because it's Time Walk, so off we go. 2 Memorial to Genius here for Michael Byers to kick things off. Wow, look at this. Ramping into this. Cassius lands in for cards. Kind of loving it so far.
It's a cycle.
Indeed. A vicious one indeed if you're sitting in Shuhei's seat, because all he has is 3 islands, nothing? Aren't you supposed to play Tempest Gen here?
Yeah, that's the main goal. I think he has a counterspell, at least.
Wizard's Retort?
Yeah.
Well, he better, because he hasn't done anything else this game. Sure. Counter the Baloth Gorger, no problem. Oh, no, don't do it. All right, Helm of the Host. Okay, that's pretty good.
That's probably the worst Helm of the Host you can possibly have.
Definitely.
It's still okay.
You know, his follow-up play, if he hits a land, is going to be a Cloud Reader Sphinx, and that's exactly where you want to be. But if it's not, okay, he did hit it. Because if he didn't, it was going to be Tolarian Scholar.
I mean,
we might have seen that flood the board. By the way, it's a testament to Helm of the Host that would probably also win the game.
Oh, it definitely would.
Yeah. But the Cloud Reader Sphinx, of course, slightly better option. And now, mini game.
Minigame, yeah.
I mean, this is a question of, Michael, can you deal with Helm of the Host, and can you do so quickly? Because if you do not, this game's over. And it turns out he kind of can and he kind of can't.
Yeah, he has a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Which, would be extremely slow. Oh, that's 1 mana short, yeah.
Easy there, Shuhei. Now, he's going to blink the Cloud Reader Sphinx, send it back to hand. Of course, that never feels great because your opponent gets to scry again, but you do what you got to do, I suppose.
I really like it. Some people are just so scared of giving their opponent value, but in this spot, you don't care about the scry. You care about killing your opponent before that Helm can get online.
Yep.
So sure, let you have scry too. You don't mind,
Sure.
If he bounced the Helm, the Shredder would just pass, and he would get in for no damage.
Ooh. Blackblade Reforged with a very good target. Daneth the Capuchin. Paragon is going to get in for a... How much is this? 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 damage, Paulo.
It's a decent amount.
And, of course, the huge setback from the Helm of the Host means that Shuhei's going to have a very difficult time getting that thing equipped up to anything.
Yeah, I think Shuhei is getting he's going to have a difficult time and surviving a turn.
I think that these are really important use cases as well to remember. Because cards like Helm of the Host can be so clunky, that does happen some percentage of the time. Now, if you weigh out the upside, you still play it and you're still quite happy to have it. But danger, right? I mean, that is not... I mean, he lost because he went for that potentially.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have a card that dominates the game by itself with no cost.
Right.
Like, there has to be a way to punish it, and the way to punish it is to tempo out the people who spend 9 mana to do effectively nothing.
Right.
And we see Shuhei change his deck.
Yeah, wow. We saw him play triple blue, then a red.
And he had a double black card in hand. It wouldn't surprise me if being Shuhei that is the same deck, but it's in the realm of possibility, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, no, I think it's not. This deck looks kind of like what we saw from Michael in the first game. But it's a good start for Shuhei. He is stable on the ground with the Sap Herd, and he's even resolved a Divination to help pull ahead on cards to make sure he keeps hitting those land drops. I was watching Andrew Cuneo's stream last week, and he said that he thought divination was the best mana fixer.
That's wrong. Everyone knows the best mana fixer is luck.
I'm sure he meant second best.
Yeah.
Joyer's familiar now for Shuhei Nakamura, though it does get blanked by a Mammoth Spider from Michael Byers before he passes the turn back. Oh, cancel that order, send it back to hand thanks to Academy Journey Mage. And that means that Shuhei does get to attack for a couple in the air, but it's not a permanent solution to the problem, as Michael can just deploy the Spider again.
Yeah.
Broken Bond, by the way, in hand for Michael Byers, perhaps out of the sideboard. And actually, he's going to fire it off on the familiar right now. He figures Shuhei would have already played the Helm of the Host. Just going to get rid of that thing.
Yeah, and both modes are used. He even gets to play an extra land.
Nice.
Every time I cast that thing, I don't have a land in my hand anymore.
Yeah, of course. Oh, Territorial Allosaurus is going to come down and chomp on that Spider. That's a bomb right there.
Yeah, it is. It is quite good.
5/5 that kills a relevant creature, in this case a 5-drop. And Michael's going to just bite the bullet here and trade off 2 Saprolings for the Journey Mage, but now that Allosaurus is licking its chops over there because only 1 creature left for Michael Byers. Boy, he has fallen way behind Shuhei Nakamura here. Shuhei still with a lot of gas in hand as well. Cancel that order once again. Verdant Force now for Michael Byers says, I'm back in the lead.
Yeah, daddy's home.
Of course, the Allosaurus does not have any form of evasion, so those Saprolings do a nice job, let alone the Verdant Force itself just being bigger.
Yeah, and Shuhei is blue-green, which is a color combination that historically doesn't have a lot of ways with dealing with Verdant Force.
Kind
he
of
could
deep
steal it.
Freeze or bust, or
in
Bolus's clutches it. There's a few ways, but yeah, pretty rough. Ooh, here's a divination, though, for Byers to give him perhaps an even further lead.
Oh, and he's going to draw 2 more of that Memorial at the end of the turn. But yeah, it's still... Oh, is that in Bolus glitches that Shuhei drew?
He's got Wizard's Retort.
Ooh, so how greedy does Shuhei want to be?
Spider, Crozen Druid, and then is that last card?
I think it has in Bolus glitches and Wizard's Retort. So he's thinking, do I try in Bolus glitches right now? Or do I wait until I have, 9 mana or 8 mana and a Wizard? Doesn't seem like he's too worried about getting impressive stuff. Unless I'm confused and that's not actually in Bolus's glitches, but...
Can't quite see it.
We talk about how players have a style, right?
Yeah.
For the better or for worse. And Shuhei is the kind of person that, with Bolus's clutches in his run at this point, would not cast it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are a lot of people that do, and which is like, I hope my opponent has nothing. But Shuhei is the type of person that I believe will go, well, I can just wait until I draw 2 more lands. Because that Verdant Force, like the tokens, sure, they're annoying, and it looks like your opponent is doing a lot because they do it every turn.
Yeah.
But they're still just 1/1s. They can't attack. Shuhei's at 20. So that might be a more threatening card than the Verdant Force at this point.
Interesting.
Now Shuhei has the decision again. Does he wait? There's only 1 more land, but he'll probably go for it because now his opponent can't counter it. No. Waits again.
Croson Druid. Saprolings flying around the table there for Byers. All right, looks like we're going to turbo this one out because our round is starting to come to an end here. And has Shuhei fallen too far behind? Still doesn't look like it from here. Verdant Force has certainly done its job.
Yeah, nothing is attacking. But it is an exercise in patience in Shuhei's part. How long are you willing to wait?
Here's a Thorn Elemental now for Byers. That is going to earn a Wizard's Retort, though, as that is the type of card that can really start getting in. And there it is. Shuhei makes his move in. Bolus's clutches, steals it. But there was another Broken Bond there for Byers. And he gets it back. I don't see how Shuhei gets his way out of this now.
Yeah, and we see that, Shuhei's trying to race.
He's got a Time of Ice, and he's going to try to leverage it, but this is going to be a very tough sell.
I mean, it's not like Michael can attack with a lot.
It's true, but Michael's at full 10 life here. And that Time of Ice is only going to buy him so much attacks. Shuhei certainly can't get in on the ground. So it's really this Cloud Reader Sphinx, but Next turn, we're going to see these cards return to hand. Oh, blink of an eye, my own. Oh, cancel that order. Although, no, it looks like it went back to his hand anyway.
Well, his opponent also cast blink of an eye.
Yeah, so he just got to draw the card. Yeah. Is that Shalai?
Shalai? Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Are you serious right now? Shalai.
Wait, he didn't want to use Shalai this turn?
What in the world? Well, he's going to untap and activate her probably twice, and that has to be enough. Oh, man, the math is getting a little big here. We need Frank Carson for these type of numbers.
Yeah, Shuhei only can time of ice only Shalai.
That's right. Everything else has hexproof. But Shalai can still be activated even if she's tapped down. He has 2 activations lined up.
Almost. No, not almost 3, just 2. But
he's got 2 1/3.
Yeah.
Actually, 2 1/2. He is Llanowar Elf. Time of Ice, the only thing I can time of Ice, but Michael, having played carefully, had set up for this. So he has the Drake there. Gift of Growth from Shuhei Nakamura kills the Drake. Can Shuhei actually find a way out of this? This is absurd. 2 activations. He can just block a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, he's at 30.
Is this time for the No Math Alpha? I attack with everything. I activate this twice. You figure it out?
Shuhei did something very interesting there.
What did he do?
So he had a Jousting Lance. Okay, so...
Yep, it was enough.
Okay.
So basically they counted up how many creatures Shuhei could block. He took his biggest creatures, set them aside, and said, and then if I have 2 +1/+1 counters on everything else, what does that give me? And it was enough to kill Shuhei.
It was?
I believe so.
Okay.
Was it not?
I don't know. I don't know who won.
Now maybe I can look.
I thought Michael had just conceded. There's no way I know that that was enough.
I think Shuhei conceded. I think they counted it out.
Okay, so it was enough.
Believe so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were a lot of creatures in there.
Yes.
So
there definitely were.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got a short commercial break. I'll put that in the chat, by the way, just to double check because it was going a hair quick at the end there. But we've got a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more live magic here from GP Dallas Fort Worth. Don't go anywhere.